Welcome, Gunrunner.
Fairly recently I made a video looking at rare and unusual Atari consoles, which proved to be very popular, so I thought I would expand that idea a little and take in other manufacturers too. So this week I'll be turning to my second love in Sega to provide the goods. However, I've gone for a slightly different format this time around, as in the Atari video all the consoles I looked at were unreleased prototypes, whereas in this video all the systems featured are limited editions that actually made it to retail. I have also chosen to put this video in a somewhat chronological order, with a special edition from each of Sega's own main console generations. On this list I have crazy looking consoles from all parts of the world that all have their own unique and interesting stories that I hope you'll enjoy hearing about just as much as I enjoyed discovering them when I did my research. So enough with the waffle, let's have a look at 5 rare and unusual Sega consoles now, shall we?
Quando parecia impossível melhorar o Master System, a Tectoy lançou o Master System 3. Arrojado e compacto, ele joga mais de 100 jogos do Master System e já vem com Alex Kidd na memória. E olha o que a Tectoy fez com o preço, apenas 6 de 499.900 e mais um Super Kit do Sonic grátis. Master System 3 Compact da Tectoy, compacto até no preço.
It's only right that we start this video with the first Sega console to get a Western release, and the one that very much set the company up to succeed in the home market. But the model we're going to be looking at isn't actually a Western model at all, it's a rather unusual variant from Brazil, where official Sega licensees Tectoy very much ruled the market. The Master System Girl is very much what it says on the tin, a completely new model of the 8-bit console designed to appeal to young female gamers. The portable design was actually copied from a previous Tectoy model called the Master System Compact, except now pink in colour with different built-in games. The Compact came with Alex Kidd in Miracle World included in the ROM, but the SMS Girl included Monica at the Dragon Castle instead, a localised version of Wonder Boy and Monsterland. Later models of the console actually came with 2 built-in games, swapping out the original Monica game for the sequel, which is a retooled version of Wonder Boy 3 The Dragon's Trap. As I already said, this model was designed to be portable, and it was possible to run the unit on batteries, but you would still need a TV to play it on, so one for taking on holiday with you to play in your hotel room rather than gaming on the go. It basically works like an oversized controller with a wireless design. The unit has a pull-out aerial, and there is a receiver that you plug into your TV so the two can communicate. First released in 1994 and sold for several years after, the Master System Girl didn't really catch on as Tectoy had hoped, and it's now quite rare and sought after, with box units changing hands for pretty high sums of money online. It's fairly well known that Sega's first entry into the handheld console market, the Game Gear, was later sold in several special edition coloured variants, including the Blue Sports Edition in North America, as well as yellow, light blue, red and white variants in Japan. There are also several even more special editions out there which are not so well known, as well as a rather attractive model aimed at young children that was bundled with the Virtua Fighter animation game, and another more understated Game Gear that was combined with RPG Magic Knight Ray Earth. Sega also produced a special edition of their handheld as part of a tie-in with leading soft drinks manufacturer COCA-COLA. This wasn't actually the first time that the famous company had hooked up with a video game manufacturer, as there was the special edition version of Space Invaders, the Atari 2600, that was handed out to their employees at a sales convention. But this was the first time Coca-Cola had persuaded their partner to produce a console to go with the game, and the first time they released their custom project to the general public. The result of this promotional activity was the game Coca-Cola Kids, which was released in Japan only in 1994, and also sold as a bundle with the special Coke gear. Don't go asking for that in a shop. This colourful platformer was developed by Aspect for Sega and heavily based on their previous game Sonic Chaos, with the two maintaining a striking amount of similarities when it comes to the gameplay, although this isn't immediately obvious by looking at it. The Coca-Cola Game Gear isn't quite as rare as some of the other special editions on this list, but a complete package still fetches a pretty hefty price when it pops up on eBay. Sega! Like the Master System Girl that I featured at the start of this video, the White Mega Drive is another Brazil only model released by Tectoy. Although it's actually badged as the Mega Drive 3, many people refer to it as the White Mega Drive to differentiate it from the Genesis 3, which was marketed exclusively by Majesco in North America. Released in 2007, this model is a console on a chip, much like Majesco's model actually, which means that it does have compatibility issues with some games, like Virtua Racing for example, and suffers from poor audio and lower quality video output. The console is physically identical to a Sega Mega Drive 2 in all but colour, but it doesn't actually feature a cartridge slot, so games can only be loaded from the internal ROM chips. And speaking of games, there are 39 actual Mega Drive games included, but the list of titles may surprise a few people. There is no Sonic or Streets of Rage, although there is Sonic 3, and instead we have more unusual games like Rastan Saga 2, Decap Attack and New Zealand Story. As well as those proper Mega Drive games, there are also another 42 simple flash type games to make a grand total of 81 built-in titles. These non-Mega Drive games would go on to be included on many future Tectoy models of the Mega Drive, including the completely redesigned Mega Drive 4 from 2009 with its Guitar Hero controller. Rather confusingly, a second Mega Drive 3 would be released just a year later in 2008 that had a completely new design, looking very much like a wireless router, and this would add several new mobile games in the form of The Sims, FIFA Soccer, Need for Speed and SimCity to the pack. In another change from all previous Mega Drive models, the white version only supports composite video output. It would also be the final Tectoy console based on a Sega design until the 2017 relaunch of its original Sega Mega Drive. The system's initial release also included a purple marker intended for customising its white canvas-like surface with your own art or tags. Later releases of the Mega Drive 3 did not include the free marker, although the system retained its white surface, so you could just use your own. These white Mega Drives have become quite collectible amongst hardcore Sega fans in the West in more recent years, and can still be purchased via various online auction sites. Sega! Also known as the This Is Cool Saturn, the Skeleton Saturn is called that because of its clear case that shows all of the internals and was only released in Japan. Although it was far from the first Saturn variant released in the Land of the Rising Sun, they had already had various cosmetic changes from the original grey model, including a white one, the V-Saturn with its bold purple writing, and the Hitachi marketed High Saturn, but living up to its tagline, this is definitely the coolest of the lot. Released in 1998, this was the very last Saturn model produced by Sega, and only 30,000 units were manufactured in total. There is also a second variation of the Skeleton Saturn known as the Derby Stallion, created to go with the game of the same name in a special bundle. This model had a slight tint to the clear plastic which differentiates it, and is even rarer than the original Skeleton Saturn. It's not known how many of these models were actually made. As you can imagine, both of these variants are now extremely sought after and have become somewhat of a holy grail for hardcore Sega Saturn collectors. As always, I've saved the best until last, with the simply amazing and incredibly iconic Sega Dreamcast Divers 2000, an all-in-one console and TV that was designed as a joint venture between Sega, CSK and the Fuji Television Network. Released in the year 2000, hence the second part of the name, the Divers 2000 included a slightly curved but otherwise standard 14-inch TV screen with an inbuilt Sega Dreamcast console and several accessories, including the Dreamcast camera, a specially branded controller, keyboard and remote control. The TV and remote used a solid plastic coloured an attractive shade of blue, whilst the controller and keyboard were more of a greeny colour with transparent cases used instead. Although the design of the unit was quite obviously based on a deep sea diver's helmet, its look was also inspired by Sonic's head, hence the ear-like aerials and the pointed sloping tail at the back. Again, you would naturally associate the blue colour with the ocean, but this is of course the colour of Sega's ever popular mascot too. Discs are inserted into the top of the unit under a curved flip-up lid, with buttons and controller ports on the front, speakers on each side of the screen, and various ports on the back including audio in and out, modem and MIDI. This means that it has a full range of functionality when compared to a standard Sega Dreamcast console. This special edition of Sega's final console was only ever released in Japan and was extremely expensive, retailing for around 4 times the price of a standard console. With only 5,000 units ever produced, the Divers 2000 has become one of the most highly sought after consoles amongst retro collectors, and changes hands for insane prices on the few occasions that they come up for sale. Even a Divers 2000 keyboard or controller can change hands for hundreds of pounds on its own.
その日、セガエンタープライゼス専務湯川秀和は驚くべき街の声を耳にした。セガなんてダッセよな。プレステの方が面白いよな。
そうなのか。なんてこった。止めてくれ。一人になりたいんだ。セガなんてダッセよな。ちょ。うるせえ。ごめんなさいよ。
おかえりなさ。どうなさったの？
立つんだ、湯川専務。
And that completes my deep dive into 5 rare and unusual Sega consoles. Are there any others you can think of that should have made the list? Or are you lucky enough to own one of these obscure oddities and want to tell us more about it? As always, I love to hear your thoughts and views in the comments, so please get typing. Before I go though, I must thank all of my loyal patrons who continue to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to following patrons in particular for their much appreciated pledges. Grady Haynes, D Vaughan, Mitchell Valentino, Neptune, Seth A. Robinson, Carl Olsen, DOS Gamerman, Sonic Mania 999, Paul Daniel, Aussie B, Retro Resolution, and Electron Star Collapse. If you also want to help support all my creative endeavours, including this YouTube channel, then please go and check out my Patreon right now. You can get access to host richer content, including downloads, exclusive videos, creative insights, and much more besides. I've been the Laird, I thank you for watching, I'll see you all again for another video very soon.